There are plenty of people who just simply didn't go out and vote, and that is because of bad messaging. That is because of harm reduction. AOC's live on Instagram. Okay, we'll get there. I'll watch that right now. Let's see what AOC's saying.
And just want to hop on, and I want to talk with you all about a lot of different things.
Damn, Linda Sarsour, that's a name I haven't seen in a minute.
Where we move forward from here.
I said hi, it didn't show up.
What our thoughts on this are. And what's next for all of us ahead.
It did it?
As we know, Donald Trump won the presidency. Vice President Harris conceded the race today. She called President-elect Trump to concede the race personally and underscored the importance of a peaceful transition of power, and that she was committed to that. And also underscored the importance and the truth that we do not pledge to any individual or any office, but we pledge our oaths to the Constitution of the United States. In terms of everything else, as we know, Donald Trump won the presidency. Republican Party has won the Senate, and the U.S. House of Representatives has still not been called. As of this morning, I believe there were over 50 races that were still outstanding. So neither party has officially declared or has been officially declared as having the House majority. For a lot of people who are asking functional questions about what can we do, a lot hinges on what happens in the House of Representatives and control of the U.S. House of Representatives. If Democrats control the House, that gives a slight ledge to resist and prevent some of the worst legislative proposals from going through. Or, in contrast, if Republicans...
I love that the left never fails to do the one thing where they just hyper focus on people who are there, who they are the closest aligned to ideologically, and just yell at them. It's a really unsuccessful and unproductive way to move. I criticize AOC all the time. I do not think that she is the enemy, and if you do, then you're wrong,
On this note, I actually think when we talk about what needs to be done and how we look ahead, and I don't want to bounce around too much, but one of the big things that I think is going to be very important for all of us, and again, I might be bouncing around because I am what is known, and I believe in a theory of politics known as inside-outside politics. That means that I believe we have people and elected officials on the inside that try to agitate, or rather try to organize and build power and help influence decisions on the inside of institutions, but that alone is not enough or sufficient to make change in this country. That we also need mass movement politics and robust people's movements, and that those people's movements are where the actual seats of power and influence in this country come from a mass organized and mobilized base of working people. And so on an outside perspective, there are a lot of things that we have to do ahead of us. One of those things, I believe, is something known as programs of political education that can go from the most basic to
re-education,
more complex. But we need to learn a lot. We need to build a base of knowledge among ourselves and people that we know. A lot of people may not know how laws are passed or how governance works, and that's okay, but it's very important that we start to learn. A lot of people have also asked me about thoughts on the Democratic Party or certain communities that were lost, or, what have you. And I will comment a bit on some of that, but the one thing that I want to open up and say is that, first and foremost, here's my personal take.
She needs to go ASAP. Yeah, you're right,
morning,
dude. I think we should replace her district with another
rather,
Nancy Pelosi.
Urged this morning to wake up and like point one main finger or articulate.
I like that unironically there are people in the chat advocating to like do a break from the DNC right now. This is the weakest the party has ever been. It's an opportunity to try and organize and change it within your abilities towards whatever you envision it to be. But everybody's like, nah, dude, it's time. This is the Gloria La Riva or Claudia.
To say Gloria de la Riva,
rise up.
It is an avalanche of different things. But we can get into some of it. I've gotten a lot of questions about the Democratic Party. I've got a lot of questions about women, about what this means, about Latinos, about this group or that group. And we can try to dig into some of these things now. But I think what's most important is for us to remain pretty high-minded about a lot of this. In that, I mean, what is going to be most important in this time is rejecting sectarianism and understanding that we have to be
There's zero evidence that's possible. You aren't reflecting on the last 8 years. If you think there's a DNC that will allow a space, yeah, dude. That's why I'm saying the ACP is going to win next election. The American Communist Party, rise up.
Election. I think it's important to also state here that Kamala Harris was given an assignment that no other person in American history was given, to construct a presidential campaign in 90 to 100 days with absolutely no expectation or anticipation that she would be called to that assignment. So any observations that I raise, I believe have to do with longer term trends around our party and what we can do to improve and get back to our roots as champions of the working class. And this is none of this is meant to be constructed at her. A lot of times I think people try to erase one criticism for another. Oh, it wasn't this, it wasn't that. But the fact of the matter is, you know, this race may not have been decided by any one individual factor, but misogyny is very, very real in this country. As another widely known woman of color in office, you know, I knew that sexism and racism were real, but it was not until I got subjected to a national stage that I actually was shocked at how bad it is. You know, you
once
grow
again,
up with
sexism and racism has played a prominent role in Kamala Harris like being undermined. But having said that, again, Kamala Harris is an adult woman and she is more than capable of launching a better campaign. She just chose not to do so. So I think that a lot of that is still going to be, you know, it's something that we were aware of. You know what I mean? It's something that Kamala Harris was aware of. She knew. She actually actively messaged against it and didn't run on a I'm with her style campaign in the way that Hillary Clinton did. I think one of the saddest states of affairs in this process has been that the Democratic Party's bench is filled to the brim with really good talent from Gretchen Whitmer and Tim Walz and Andy Bashar and many others like that. And yet the campaign we had was the easiest swap out with Kamala Harris. And that's fine. As long as she ran a more progressive campaign, as long as she actively communicated the issues that Americans were experiencing, that she was going to solve those issues, this would have been a much more successful campaign for her, as you wouldn't have seen the base of support from the normal constituencies that historically have gone out and voted for Kamala Harris fall apart. It's that simple. A lot of people will look to like the tack to the right and how much more Republicans voted, how many of these districts like turned Republican, not realizing that a lot of those districts still had a bunch of, especially swing districts, had a bunch of liberals that didn't go out and vote for one reason or another. But like, there are plenty of people who just simply didn't go out and vote, and that is because of bad messaging. That is because of harm reduction.
It's skyrocketing, that groceries are insane, and that structurally a party that relies on the financial backing. And again, this is an area where there's disagreement within my party.
Racism and misogynoir, but Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib won. And like, it's not like Mexico is more woke of a country than America is. You know what I mean? It's not less or more woke. Claudia Scheinbaum is literally a Jewish woman who is a socialist in a 98% Catholic country.
And before people say that it's only Democrats that rely on this, just understand that Donald Trump personally thanked Elon Musk, a billionaire, for delivering him the presidency. Donald Trump works for Elon Musk. He works for Jeff Bezos. He works for the oil execs. That's what he does, okay? Where it is complicated for Democrats is that we are supposed to champion the working class. And when
you just mad you lost Silicon Valley? I mean, it's not like Silicon Valley was ever in the tank.
That does not allow us, that puts us in a bind, no? Like structurally, that is a bind. It's a fundamental misalignment of mission and what powers us. And I wish I could say that this is just an easy problem to solve and just don't take it. And I think
no more NLRB, but no more Lena Khan.
One of the reasons that this continues to be an issue is because I think a lot of people, especially in tough seats, look down the barrel of that, and it's you either compromise and get that big money to either stay out of the race or do whatever, or that big money goes to the Republican. I don't know. But at the end of the day, the ultimate problem is our ability to clearly and forthrightly advocate for an agenda that clearly champions the working class. To me, that's things like $15 minimum wage, Medicare for all, or at the very least, lowering the age of Medicare until it hits zero. But I mean, whatever those things may be, it also makes it hard. It applies a lot of pressure that I think is restrictive in allowing Democrats with their full chest to actually explain to people who is raising these prices. And so instead of saying things like, by the way, Kroger or, CVS or Rite Aid or ExxonMobil are price gouging you, and these companies, these corporations, or these billionaires are the ones that are screwing you over and jacking up your prices.
Yeah, $15 is already low now with the way the inflation works.
Power, because our job is to grow. And the reason we are in this position is because we do not have a raw majority of people who are ideologically aligned. And in instances where you do not have an outright majority, we must develop coalitions. And the name of the game in coalitions is that we have to be able to align with people that we are not fully in agreement with in the name of a larger cause. That goes for any movement, and it goes for any cause. And
do you believe identity politics is over? Brother, really, identity politics is hot as ever, okay? It's just white identity politics. There's never been a moment where people were like, man, I really love identity politics. Like, no one ever did that. And that was just like a thing that the Democratic Party presented as a false reality. And they dropped it with Joseph Robinette Brandon.
Powerful people bankrolling disruptors in people's movements. And instead of diminishing what a person is fighting for, I think it's just important that we build together alongside people.
Do I believe that leftists have to organize together? Yeah, no shit. That's constantly what I do and constantly what I yell about. I make fun of every aspect of the left, but also will always tell you, like, your enemies are not going to be of the left.
One of the strongest, most powerful, and also one of the most radical things you can do in an environment like this. So, for those who are
some people are really blaming you for losing. It's insane. Yeah, I don't know who's doing that, but I think they're not of the right mind.
Are sometimes a very odd little things that can help them change their mind.
At that point, people just care more about like trying to fight their own personal battles instead of like world-changing events.
Just want to say, I love you all, and this is going to be very hard, and we're going to have to get through it together. But we don't have a choice. we don't have a choice. We have no choice but to live and be in the times that we have been called to live in, and to make it better one day at a time, one choice at a time. Never, ever, ever think that any choice or any act of yours is too small. It isn't. And regimes and autocracies are taken down by millions of drops of small actions that would otherwise be invisible by masses of people. So I look forward to doing this work with you all. And this is the assignment that we have ahead of us. We'll probably be doing a couple more of these ahead. Bye, y'all.
All right, that was AOC.